I got the AI to write me a set of quantitative reasoning questions, and I'll be doing them live for you without using the calculator, just to show you the importance of mental maths in this subtest. There's a lot of excuses that I really want to make, but I think it's best if I just jump into the video. Regardless of my score, I hope that you'll find it beneficial just to watch me take the test. I've got the timer on one side, and I guess now it's just time for me to go into fight or flight and try and lock in. The glasses are going on, and I'll just have a minute of intro time, just trying to get in the zone for the quantitative test. So I guess in this minute of prep, I'm just trying to remind myself of my strategy, take some deep breaths, and yeah, not be too worried if I can't get a few of these questions. Obviously, with not being able to use the calculator, I probably will have to do a few guesses, and I think if anything just seems really complicated, I'll just try and skip it straight away and do it at the end. So, without further ado, let's start the timer and get into it. All right. Okay. So 1% is 120, which means 4% is 480. So it's 12,480. And 480 times 500 times 3 is 1500 minus 60 is 13,540. A bit more than 13,540. Let's go with C. All right. 750 Ks in 1 hour, 30 minutes. That's 500 kilometers an hour. Return journey takes 2 minutes, 2 hours. Difference in average speed. So the first one was 500, and the second one's 375. So that's 125 kilometers an hour. Customer rents a car for 3 days and drives 450. So it's 450 kilometers. What's the total cost? It's 240 plus 45, which is 285. And the rest is 350 times 30, which is 105. So 285 plus 105 is 395. I've stuffed that up. Come back to that. 52 hours in a week. What's his total income? David earns 32 hours a regular week, and overtime is paid 1.5. Okay, so 32 times 4 is 128. So it's 1,280. And then 12 hours at 48. If it was 12 hours at 50, it would be $600. Is there anything just under, it's 1880. Anything just under 1880. Yeah, let's go with this. Total time, including rest. So this would, for 60 kilometers at 30 kilometers an hour, would take 2 hours. Then to return would take 3 hours. So it's 5 hours and 15 minutes. C. Maximum distance Model B can travel on a full tank. This table. Okay, we're looking at Model B, 12 kilometers per liter, 60 liters. 12 kilometers per liter. So it's 12 times 60, which is 720. Nice. Initial investment. So it's growing at 6%. After 4 years, I'm not going to be able to do that in my head, am I? Let's pick the middle number. And if that went up at 1%, that's actually quite a hard one. Okay. If I pick 26,000, it would be 260 would be 1%. So 6% would be 260, 300, 1,560. 1,560 times 4 is 6,240. Is that too big? Let's just go with A. I don't know that, and I'm not going to be able to work that out. So if I had spare time, I'd come back to that. Seven's probably wrong. Okay, probability the sum of numbers is exactly 7. So there's 36 possibilities. Oh, it's clobbered my glasses. It's all going in the bin. We can get a 3 and a 4, 3, 4, 4, 3, 5, 2, 2, 5, 6, 1, it's 1 and 6, I think. How many machines are needed to 5, 409 hours? So that's 60 units per hour. Or is it? No, it's 600 units now. So 600 units an hour. If it would produce 300 units per hour with 5 machines. So if we need to produce 600 an hour, then we need it to be 10 machines. Difference between the highest and lowest recorded temperatures is 14. Highest temperature is 35, the lowest is 21. Easy one. Okay, product A and B. We need total revenue. Okay. Oh, goodness. Profit margin, 25%. 25% of 15 is 375. That times 500 will be 1870-ish. That's definitely wrong. And then B is 30%, which is $6. No, I'm confused. I'll come back to that. If the tank was initially empty, how long will it take to fill the tank completely? Okay, 10,000 liters, it's going in at 250, it's going out at 100, so it's 150 liters per minute net. If we do that for 60 minutes, it would be 900. So I don't think any of these are the right answer, but I think it's more than 60 and less than 80, so we'll just go with that. AI generated questions. By what percentage does the area of the field increase? Okay, so if the length's up by 50% and the width's by 25%, then it would be sort of 1.5 times 1.25, which is 1.875. Probably close. Is it closest to that? 3 on 2 times 5 on 4, which is 15 on 8. Oh, yeah. Two trains are traveling toward each other on parallel tracks at constant speeds of 80 and 120 if they're initially separated by 400 kilometers. How long will it take to meet? So they're moving towards each other at 200 kilometers net, so that's going to be 2 hours. Oh, this is really hard to read. Hope that doesn't stuff everything else up. Selling price for XYZ are 10, 15, 20. What's the total revenue for all three products in March? Okay, so 7,000, 6,000, so 13,000, and 10,000, so 23,000. Nice. Overall percentage increase in employees across all departments. Okay, so it was 130, 250, 340, and that became 170, 320, 430. 430 on 340. Great. If it was 30%, it would be 9, 34, 102. That's too much. If it was 25%, that's what, 85. That's pretty close. Let's go with that. Average monthly profit. Let's add these up. Actually, they're all going up by 5 every time, aren't they? So the average will be 32.5. It's none of these, but let's go with B. It's closest. If production costs are expected to rise by an additional 10% in year 4 across all categories compared to year 3, what will be the total production cost? Okay, so we add all these up. 100, 130, additional 10%, so it'll be 130 times 1.1, which is 143. Okay, so that's in the middle of those two. Probably AI error, or could be my error. Who knows? Total cost of materials. Okay. Total volume of concrete is 180 cubic. Cost of cement is 40, 50. So cement is a sixth. So it's 30 cubic meters of cement. 30 times 50 is 1,500. Sand was a third. A third of 180 is 60. So that's 1,800. Gravel is 20. And that's a half. So half of 20, half of 180 is 90. 90 times 20 is 1,800. So that's a total of 3,600 plus 1,500, which is 5,100. Again, I've got none of these. I can probably check that if I have time, which I probably won't. Okay, car's baseline efficiency is 12 at 60 kilometers. What will the efficiency be at 80? Okay, so it will decrease by 10% 4 times. So good. How do you do this? 12 times 0.9 to the 4. I'm not going to be able to do that in my head. Let's imagine it was 9. So it'd be 9, 9.9, 10.8, 11.7. Stuffing this up. It's hard without a calculator. Let's skip it or shoot it. I'll skip it. 12. Should have made a note on the other one I skipped. Okay. If the final selling price is 238, what's the original cost price? Up by 40% and then offers 15% discount. Final selling price. This is going to be so hard without a calculator. Okay. So if it costs 250 and then it went, no, let's say it cost 200, then it went up by 40%. So that would cost 280. And then it went down by 15%, which means it would still cost too much. None of these answer options are right, but that's going to be the closest. Okay, 90 kilometers an hour, 10 seconds, 300 LMP. Platform. How long will it pass the platform? Damn. So 90 kilometers an hour, you can do kilometers out to meters per second by dividing by 3.6. So let's just call this 25 meters per second, which means the train is sort of 250 meters long. So then if it's going past the whole 300-meter platform plus an extra 250 meters, so it'd be 550 meters. So it'll be just about 20 seconds, do you reckon? Between 20 and 25. I think it'll be closest to 20 if you rounded it off. But again, none of those answers will be exact. Going for time. Okay. Garden has a length to width ratio of 3 to 2. Area is increased by 50% by extending the length by 5. What is the original width? Oh my goodness. So if the length increases by 5, but then let's just make up some numbers. All right, so if the width was 12, length to width is 3 to 2, so then that would be 18 as the length. If you increase that by 5, that's definitely wrong. If the width was 8, then the length was 12. And if you increase that by 5, that's still not going to increase the whole area by 50%, is it? Again, I think error with the question, A is going to be the closest one to the answer. All right. If May is projected to be 20% higher than April and expenses are 15% higher, what will be the profit be? Okay, so the revenue 20% higher. 10% is 8,000, 20% is 16,000. 10% is 4,500, which means 15% is, no, I've forgotten the first thing. That was 16K. 4,500, so let's just say 6.75K. So it's just under 10K, isn't it? No, well, there's no way the profit will be that. Oh, wait, no, I've stuffed it up. 20% higher. Okay, so it'd be 96K versus, that would be 10K higher than this, which is this. Close enough. All right, if a product A sells for $50 a unit and B is $70 a unit, which quarter has the highest revenue? Oh, goodness. All right, B is higher, so let's look for a high number of B and the high number of A. That's a nice one. If the final grade is calculated as weighted, great. Who has the highest final grade? So I'm looking highest for maths, basically. That's pretty good. And will that be higher than? Yeah, so Carol will be the highest. The growth rate is half the previous year's growth rate. Okay, so the previous year was like 5.5 million. So the next year will be half of that, so it'll be 3.25. 20% acid. How many liters of 50% acid must be added to 10 liters to create a mixture? Oh, great. So if we had 10 liters originally, that would have been 2 liters acid and 8 liters not. So then if we need 40% acid, let's just take the middle number. If we added 20 liters, that would make it 12 liters of acid and 18 liters of something else. That's too low. So if we added 30 liters, that would make it 17 liters of acid and 13. 8 plus 15 is 23. So that's 1723. Is that 40%? It's pretty close. I don't think it's above 40%. 17 out of 40. I think that's going to be closer than 25. What's the final revenue after 3 years? Increase 10%, decrease 5, increase 15. Great. So it'll be 220, then decrease by 5%. So then 10% would be 22. So 5% would be 11. So we go to 220 to 209, and that would increase by 15%. So 209K. So then 10% would be 20.9. 15% would be 30, just above 30. So then 209 plus 30 basically would be 240. I think it's closer to 240 than 245. It's in between, but I think it's closer. Average speed. All right, up 10 kilometers an hour. So it's 5 kilometers. Our speed is distance on time. So what's the distance? Yeah, 5 kilometers. Then 3/4 of that, 15. So the total distance is 20 Ks. And what's the time? 1 hour 15. So that's 5 on 4. 20 divided by 5 on 4 is the same as 20 times 4 on 5, which is 80 on 5, which is 16. Nice. If each dimension is increased by 25%, what percentage does the volume increase? So that's 25% times 25% times 25%. Such an easy question on the calculator. 125 on 64, which is just, it's about 100%. Just under 100%. A student scores these 3 things in 3 tests. If each test is weighted equally in the final grade, which requires an average of 80, what score does a student need? Oh, he needs 80. Store offers 25% discount on all items, an additional 5%. What's the final price of a 500 item? So if you took 20% off, that'd be 400, and then you took 5% off, it would be 380. A loan of 10 grand is repaid with monthly payments of 500 over 2 years. What's the annual interest charge on the loan? Monthly payments. Okay, so 500 times 24 is the same thing as 1,000 times 12, which is 12,000, which means there's 2,000 interest, which means 1,000 per year in interest, which is 10%. 1,200 units per day, 8-hour shifts, output per hour. So how many units per hour was that? Was it 150? Okay, so it used to be 150 per hour. And now it's increasing by 25%. So that would make it increase by, so like 187.5. Okay. I don't know what the overtime shift means. It's 187.5, which is closest to this, I think. 15% annually with current value is 34K, value in 3 years, 3 years ago. Okay, so it's divide some number times 0.85 equals this. I'm not going to be able to do that in my head. If I just pick 50K and took 15% off, that would be 10% off would be 45. So 15% off would be 42 and a half. Then if I took 15% off of that, I'd be taking 4.25, 6 point something. So it'd be 36. That's too low. Should probably do 55 now. Let's just do 60. It's easier for me. So 15% of 60 is 9,000. Could be getting all this wrong. 51K. If I took off, well, that looks okay. If I took off 15% of that, I'm taking off 7.5K, so it's 43.5K. And if I took off 15% of that, it would be like 4 and a bit K. So that's still too high. That's still too high. So it's between 50 and 60. Let's go with 55. I'm just guessing. All right. So that's all the questions, I think. Oh, the answers. Okay, 5 minutes. I think I skipped a few. So let's go back and see which ones I skipped. All right. Rents a car for 3 days and drives 450 kilometers. So we said 240, 45. That's 285. And then it would be 30 cents for the next 350 kilometers, which is 105. That's 390. Maybe all the answers are wrong. I could have missed something. I think it's 390. I'm just gonna pick that. Dun 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 dun. Oh wait, no, it's this one. Oh, I hated this question. So profit margin means the revenue is 25% higher than the expense, I think. So $15 times 1.25. So what's a quarter of 15? 375. So that would be, I need total revenue. Okay, let's just go 18.75 times 500 and 30%. So that's 26, I think. What's 10% is 2, so 30% is 30. Yeah, so 26. Sure. All right, if you have 26 numbers of B at 800, what's that? What's 26 times 800? Okay. 20 times 8 is 160. 6 times 8 is 48. So that's 208 with 2 zeros. So it's 20,800 just for number B. So it's going to be probably 24,000 or higher. Probably don't need to work out A. Done, 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 done. Why did I highlight this? Did I guess that? I think that was fine. This one I haven't got an answer for. Okay, 3 minutes. Car's fuel efficiency decreases by 10%. 12 kilometers an hour. Okay, let's just try this. All right, so if it starts at 12, then if you decrease it by 10%, it will go to 10.8. If you decrease that by 10%, it'll go to... So what am I taking off here? 1.08. So it's 9.72. I have to do this 4 times. All right, so I'm already at 9.72, which is nice. Then if I take off 10% again, I'll be less than 9. And again, I'll be in the 8s. It has to be this one. Done, 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 done. Cool. I've got 2 minutes spare. So if I was in the habit of finishing early, I could flag some things like this. There's some stuff here I would have probably gotten wrong. I could flag those and revisit them. I think given the questions that AI generated, the answers aren't perfect. And you can tell I use the free version of ChatGPT. It would be a bit better, obviously, if I use some official question banks, but still sorting out the copyright for that. So I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks that will get going. Hopefully you found it beneficial, though. I think the most important things to take away is how I try and approach the questions, and I don't try and linger on anything. So the way I can finish early is as soon as I know I'm stuffing it up, I just sort of skip and I can actually come back to it later. If you found this video helpful, then this channel is the place for you. I'll be putting out a new UCAT video once per week, going over me doing practice questions and some other in-depth information on how to do the UCAT and some considerations which will help your practice. Next week, I'll do some verbal reasoning questions without looking at the passage at all, but you'll have to stay tuned and see what comes out. So watch this space for more information. Thanks so much, guys. Remember, the link in the description is the place for you in terms of free resources, contacting me with questions, and getting some help with tutoring. So keep in touch, and I will see you all next week.